I want to also just introduce partners worldwide and Think High. This is a collaborative effort. Partners, as the word partners is, we partner with organizations to see how we can add value to them. And so Think High is our partner, and we've been working with Think High. Think High is headed by William. William, of course, will come shortly and take over the program in a while. And William and the team put together this program, and their heart is into transforming people. And they've got different places in India that they work with, different people groups that they work with, and business group is one of the main intentions to see how people can grow. So thank you, William, and Think High as a team for this collaboration to make this happen. Today, I'd like to go straight on to give as much time to our speaker this evening. And thank you, Dr. Anand Pillai, for accepting our invitation to, bring insights into this meeting. If I have to give you an introduction, it's going to take a long time. So I'm going to just take a few points because he's well known. He's been in this field for a long time, and he's a person who is in the business of changing people and changing lives. And I think that is the most catchy part of his profile. And as I went through his profile, there are a few things that really caught my attention. Firstly, he's worked with people in high places, I would say. So he was with Reliance and was almost like the advisor to the chairman of the Reliance Group. And who is the chairman of the Reliance Group. So he was, and the executive vice president of Reliance in the business transformation and learning space, and worked with HCL and many of the big fives in his career. Currently, he is the managing director of Leadership Matters. And more than anything, what I've seen in Dr. Anand Pillai is that, he is available for people, and he has been really moving around in our Indian circles. At least what I've seen is transforming people, at different conferences, different associations, and different people groups. And I think that is something unique about him. And we are so happy that, he could kind of give us insights into the topic that we are thinking of or talking about. And I just want to welcome Dr. Anand Pillai to take over the next few minutes and to be able to really give us insights. And again, a warm welcome to each of you who are there on the group, and a special welcome to Dr. Anand Pillai. Thank you so much.
Let me bring my slide up. Yeah. So here we are. Entrepreneurship is a very, very big topic. My specialization is in a branch of entrepreneurship called intrapreneurship. I have guided several PhD students. 3 people have finished their PhD under me on that topic, intrapreneurship, and I have, spoken about intrapreneurship. That is not E, INTRA, intrapreneurship. But I'm not going to talk about entrepreneurship now. Entrepreneurship is basically corporate entrepreneurship. The topic that we have for today is entrepreneurship, and I am not going to speak for long. I want to encourage questions. I want to interact because that's where the real effectiveness and connect comes. So, what do I have for today? The image that was sent, or the flyer that was sent, talks about the 5 biggest challenges that founders face and how we can overcome. Our idea, equip you with insights and strategies. Yeah, so I basically was talking about the objective is to equip you with insights. So let us look at the 5 challenges that are given in the flyer. I personally do not know the profile of our participants, whether you are actual founders, co-founders, you're in the process of founding a company. But so I put together what I would call a common factor syndrome, something that would address almost everybody. So, what are the five challenges that are there? The first challenge that many people have is a what I would call a generic challenge, and that is self doubt. And allow me to share what I'm sharing. This is not a judgment, this is an observation. I have worked in the secular world and I continue to work in the secular world for the last 43 years. This self doubt is more among believers than among the people of the world. And this is an observation. My observation based on my interaction with people in India. I was born and brought up in Bangalore, but I moved from Bangalore in 1982 for my first job. I've traveled the world over. I've interacted with professionals the world over. I've interacted with believers the world over. And this observation that I am making is something that kind of disturbs me, but that is reality. The self doubt, the fear of failure, even though we need to be the most confident, somehow, and this is more so in India. I have not seen this as much as, say, in Indonesia or in Singapore, where I've lived and worked. US, definitely, it is not there. There, the people are far more, I'm talking about believers, are far more confident. Here, somehow, in India, and this is the reason why we do not have many Christian entrepreneurs. Now, I'm not talking about somebody who's running a what I would call mom and pop show, 5, 10 people, 15 people, or so on. Or I'm also not talking about somebody who's running their enterprise in a very secular manner. I mean, they are Christians by religion. Their, business is not anything to do with the kingdom of God. I'm talking about people who are really committed, who really value the extension of the kingdom, and those people. And you can validate this in India. We don't have J.C. Penney's or a Colgate or some of these big stalwarts who are entrepreneurs. So, what is the self doubt? The self doubt is basically the fear of failure, or even worse, they think they know it all, the imposter syndrome, or the third component of self doubt is indecision. They really do not want to start what they have to do. So, in each one of these five things, I will look at the impact, I will look at the examples, I will also look at what strategies we can use. So, what is the impact of self doubt? Impact of self doubt, the biggest thing is it stalls decision making completely. I mean, you are not able to kickstart at all, you know. And the more you dwell in this fear of failure, the more your confidence will erode. And this is the reason why you should form or be part of a mentor group or a mentor circle where each encourages the other, and therefore you can go. And it can also limit not just professional growth, but it can also limit personal growth. I have seen quite a few people, within quotes, entrepreneurs or employees, who have had this fear of failure or self doubt, who have even not grown physically. I've got extreme cases, and this is a research done by other people in psychology. I've seen extreme cases of people have even become, I mean, I would, the word infertile is not the thing. They don't have children. I mean, they're really, I mean, it has affected. That is an extreme case. But the most common case is eroding confidence and stalls decision making. Limiting growth, personal and professional, is the other follow. What are the examples that we are think? Examples basically founders second guessing pivots. Oh, have I done the right thing? Is this the way I should go? Or is this the business I should be in? Or hesitating to scale. They will start, they'll come to a particular point, and then beyond that, they'll not really go. So, what is the strategy we recommend? Strategy, which is what I mentioned earlier itself, a mentor circle is definitely a very, very good thing. Form a strong inner circle. When much before I got into this entrepreneurship business, in the Bible study itself, and I'm talking about 1981, I still was a bachelor, 82. I was part of a group called Stamina. This was the navigators who had started it, and that is Stamina is an acronym for supporting and training accountable men in action. We need to have an inner circle for prayer, an inner circle for support, and also more specifically, an inner circle for feedback. Somebody who will call a spade, somebody who will be able to tell you where your strengths are, where your challenges are. That's a big thing. And of course, another thing that helps you overcome self doubt is track small wins. Don't expect to become big. And here I want to give you two examples. In my introduction itself, it was mentioned that I worked with big people. I worked for 14 years under Shiv Nada. When I got featured in a book called Leading with Wisdom, which was the stories of 31 people who have done things differently. And by God's grace, I was one of them. Stephen Covey was another. In fact, the chapter in which I'm included in that book is along with Stephen Covey. Then, of course, Abdul Kalam and all is there. I gave a copy of that book to Mr. Nader. And as I gave the copy of the book, normally I meet him where there is a table and he's on the other side. And he immediately said, Anand, no, no, this conversation should not happen here. Let's go to the sofa. We went to the sofa and he came and sat next to me, not opposite me. And he put his arms around me and he said, I see a different dimension. I've not seen this so closely. I see another area of your life. And we started talking. And I got close enough to him to ask him the question. In the IT industry, we call even the chairman as first name. So I called him Shiv, and I said, Shiv, when you started the company, that is way back in 1976, what was your dream? What was your vision? You know, and Mr. Nader, when we refer to him, we always refer to him as Mr. Nader, but when we call him Shiv. So Mr. Nader, he kind of laughed. He said, Anand, I never had any dream. My goal was to pay the salary for those four people that I had hired, and to make sure that we get our business kicking. So, and the moment today, not today, I mean, a few months ago, there is a project that is started in HCL called the HCL Museum, where they're going into nothing to do with the painting museum. They're going into the history of the company, the first check they got, the first order that they got, the first employment letter, and the first appreciation from a customer, and so on. And all that they did in those days was celebrate, track the small wins, and build momentum. They got one order, okay, move on. They got another order and move on. And the other example that I have is that of Mukesh Ambani. In my role, I want to first of all correct, I was not an advisor in that introduction it was given. I was one of the direct reportees of the chairman. I was the senior executive vice president there in the company, leading a business transformation. And there were, of course, 18 other, 17 other, totally 18 of us were there. 17 other people were in this category in various tracks. And in one particular meeting, I got very close to him, and I, kind of was itching to ask him the question, "What is your dream again?" you know and then he and I asked him, when you took over the reins from Papa is Dhirubhai Ambani, what was your dream? He said, Anand, you are asking me this question. I had no dream. I was basically doing my MBA in Stanford, just about completed 1 year, and I was called back because Papa had a paralytic attack, and there were so many lawsuits and so on. My dream was, or not my dream, my goal was to put out the small fires. And the moment I put out the small fires, I'll be able to do bigger things. So why I'm giving you these two examples, they're very personal examples, is for you to, even big people have got small goals, So track those small goals and build momentum. That is something that enables you to overcome self-doubt. And of course, you make sure that you keep writing this down. Practice resilience through journaling. Have a habit of writing it down, and of course, getting coaching. Okay, let's take the second goal. And I know that you will have questions. There is a formal question time at every slide, at every point. Please write down your questions. The second one is funding roadblocks. Okay, difficulty in accessing capital or managing the cash flow. I will look at more managing the cash flow. See, one of the things that when I was the country manager and managing director for Bay Networks, I mean, that was the first time I was actually in charge. I mean, I was responsible for India, SAARC countries, India, Pakistan, Burma, Sri Lanka, and so on. And I had to manage my P&L, profit and loss account. So there was a kind of a downturn where we had in India we had done the nuclear blast, and America suddenly put sanctions, and order flow was really jeopardized, because they said, even though you got orders, you'll not be in a position to fulfill those orders. So the first thing that I learned is manage the cash flow, because whether you get revenue or not, you must make sure that you're managing the cash flow. And this is what we as entrepreneurs need to do. If you manage your cash flow, you will be able to access capital very well. Now, there are enough failure stories of these so-called startups. The latest one is our Blue Smart, and before that, Baiju and all that. All of them, if you see, the moment they get the money, they go and spend it into category C items or in their dreams rather than funding the business. Make sure that we as entrepreneurs, manage our cash flow. One formula that each entrepreneur should write down is that E to R ratio. What is that E to R ratio? Expenses to revenue. If for whatever reason your expenses are going to increase, you must have an increased revenue. And for a lot of reasons, and it happens for all of us, your revenue comes down. The first thing that you'll have to do is make sure that you cut down your expenses. And in that expenses, we got fixed expenses and variable expenses. What are the fixed expenses? The fixed expenses could be your rent. Fixed expenses could be the salary for the employees. The fixed expenses could be the other utility bills and other things. So be wise in making sure that your fixed expenses is as small as possible. I would not recommend you to go for a fancy office straight away or a fancy factory straight away, because that's a fixed expense. Whether you're producing for 5 people or 15 people or 500 people, you will have a factory, you will have employees. I've got a very close friend of mine, I can't name him. He was a very successful executive in a multinational company. He started in good faith. He hired 6 people full time, and then he had, I think, 3 or 4 people part time. You won't believe it. For the first 8 months, he was funding the company based on his savings and all that he did. And afterwards, when I met him, he was saying, Anand, it is so bad that I'm earning only to make sure that I pay the salary of all the people, and I'm not taking anything home. And then I asked him, why did this happen? The main reason why it happened was his fixed expenses was very high. He had taken an office in a huge, office complex, where the fixed expenses was itself about 6.5 lakhs. That is in terms of the office expenditure. Then he had the payment and all that. Bottom line, why I'm giving you that is make sure that your cash flow is managed, because this will impact your growth restrictions. It will delay some of your loss, key launches, and you'll miss out a lot of opportunities. I am on the board of quite a few companies, and I'm an advisor to the VCs. The first thing that they do is, how are you managing your cash flow? And the other thing, the word that I've used here is burn rate. The burn rate is the amount of money that just goes down the drain in meeting your fixed expenses and your variable expenses. That can really dry out your capital before you realize it, and that's dangerous. So what should you do? Diversify your funding resources. Make sure that you've got some amount of your money from your regular customers or from your savings or whatever it is. Try to see that you get some angel investors. Angel investors are different from venture capitalists. Angel investors, the very word angel is they give it to you without any expecting of return. When it return happens, you can go and they convert that into equity, or you get what I would recommend, called revenue based financing. That is, you tell your customers, listen, I will give you or deliver this business, but in return for the business that I'm going to give you, I want you to fund me. Automotive companies do this very, very well for their ancillaries. So when they build the ancillaries, they say, listen, we will give you loan, but in return for the loan, you don't have to pay back in cash, you'll have to pay back in kind. So come out with your own strategies, and you make sure that you have lean operations and clear cash flow plans. So please feel to, again, questions would be there. The third challenge that is there is team misalignment. Make sure that you have like-minded people. The Bible very clearly says that you should not unequally yoke. If there is a conflict in the team, it can be chaos, your values, your communication breakdown. And if we go back to the failure of many of these so-called startups, it is largely because the partners did not agree or they did not come into unison. So make sure that you choose people who align with your values and who are at least making sure that the core remains the core. The major thing is the major thing. Stephen Covey once said, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So why have you come together for business in the first place? If you have come together for business to make money, then the concept of making money for each person is different. So, but if you have come together to actualize your talent and to glorify God, and all of you are come to agreement on how you would do this, make sure that those things are all written down. Otherwise, there will be what I mentioned here, cultural toxicity. You will constantly be getting into very negative situation. People will be coming and going because when they see the partners not really in sync, the employees will not see any growth, and you are basically putting out fires and you don't have any time to innovate. So there'll be a lot of disputes and unclear roles. So what should you do? Develop a clear vision and shared values right in the beginning. If you're a limited partnership thing, okay, make sure that the partners all say this is what we sign up for. I mean, we have ROC, Register of Companies, requires two documents. That is your articles of association. What is your articles of association? Why have you come together for this purpose? And MVV, what is your mission, vision, and values? Make sure that it is not something abstract. Make sure that is something that is clear, tangible, and have mentors or have independent directors. Ministry of Corporate Affairs mandate for every listed company, 30% of the board should be independent directors, and I'm as an independent director in a few companies, and that will enable you to have the feedback. Even if you're not an established company, have an independent director or a mentor who will be able to give you that input. And this statement that I mentioned here is hire for culture add and not for culture fit. This is a very, very important thing. See, many of us, we recruit people after our own kind, oh, he is like me, and therefore he will fit in. If everybody is, my chairman used to say, if everybody is thinking the same thing, nobody is thinking. So why should you hire for culture add and not just for culture fit? Culture fit is necessary. That's the basic. Culture add is, oh, this person has got disruptive thinking. He or she will be able to add to our culture. Oh, this person has got very good stakeholder management. He or she will be able to add to the culture, and so on. So don't get just like people, that is culture fit. In addition to culture fit, get culture add. The fourth challenge that is there is market ambiguity. When you start the company, when you start the business will be something. As you grow, the market will evolve, the customers' needs will evolve, and it will keep on going. You make sure that you are constantly aligned with the customer's needs. Otherwise, you will not be in a position to really meet that. You'll end up wasting your resources. And try to get, which is what I have done, try to get some of your key or strategic customers as part of your ecosystem where they get to advise you. They get to tell you. And since before I started my entrepreneurship venture, if at all you want to call it entrepreneurship, I had my own, I myself was a corporate executive for a good 37, 38 years before I ventured out. And I had people who are really my professional colleagues who got me in the right track, and they are continuing to be with me. The challenge that we have is pretty soon, whatever market that you're getting will get saturated. And you'll have to reinvent yourself. And that's a big challenge that is there. So make sure that you have a continuous discovery mindset. In fact, when I started Leadership Matters, our goal was to do strategy implementation and execution. It still is our goal, but as we went on, we found that while we coined the word developing entrepreneurs, we found that the stakeholder management is a big thing that is there. And now process implementation is becoming a big challenge. So as you go along, make sure that you have a constantly evolving model, test, iterate, validate, something that is flexible, and be clear that you pivot fast into the emerging models and emerging rules. Finally, before I break for questions, and I want to really encourage all of you to interact and get into a lot of questions. What are the regulatory hurdles? See, you have an option. For example, I chose to be a sole proprietorship firm, and Simon, a very good friend of mine, he was the one who advised me. He said, Anand, don't go for limited liability or private limited company. You can, at a later point in time, you can do that. But depending on who or what kind of business you're wanting to go in this direction. So you choose, because whether you have got revenue or not, if you are a private limited company, the kind of regulatory requirements are there is mind-boggling. And hypothetically, if you want to close down, that's another nightmare. So start small and grow big. Find out what are the compliance frameworks that are there. If you're in a manufacturing industry or in a small scale industry, Government of India has allowed us to come under the MSME category. And there's a huge advantage in that MSME category, because if you're a service provider or a product supplier in the MSME category, your customers will have to pay you first. And that's the reason why when you get into vendor empanelment, the first question they ask you is, are you an MSME? Because if you are there, your invoices or your bills will have to be processed really fast. And there need not be any delay penalty and so on. So find out what your model is comfortable, what model you're comfortable with, and accordingly form your company so that you don't come under regulatory hurdles. And I've given examples of fintech startup. Suddenly RBI and SEBI have come out with a whole lot of compliance issues. Even manufacturing, for example, not many of you know that if you're in a manufacturing industry, whatever labor you hire, you are liable for their life. You'll have to take insurance, you'll have to take medical coverage. It's quite a complicated. Even if they're temp staff, their liability will come onto you. In addition to, after you reach the critical mass, you'll have to pay, get into PF and so on. So have legal advisors whom you engage with, and make sure that whatever business model you have, you are clear and build the compliance into that. So bringing it all together, make sure that you have the right mindset. And I put your mindset is greater than the method. Have the right mindset, have adaptability and grit, and be part of a community where you are leveraging your own strengths as well as the strength of the ecosystem. With that, I want to throw it open to questions, and I'm taking away my slide, and I want all of you to ask questions in whatever capacity on whatever slide I've shared. By God's grace, I've got a very rich experience in the corporate world, in really, really big companies. And I can share from that. I continue to be a mentor for quite a few startups. In the secular world, actually, I'm an independent director in a few companies, so I give advice there. Uh, Draw from the experience, whatever your challenges and questions are. If you can, I would recommend you to switch your video on and ask questions.
You may want to raise your hand, and so that we can just take your questions as well. So I'd like you to switch on your videos if possible, please.
Hi, is it okay if I ask a question?
Yes,
Sure.
yes, Tony, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Sony here. I had a good opportunity to share a stage with him many years ago at Madras System College, and I think I'm listening to Anand sir speak after so long. So lovely. I was really I could not hear the last 2 points, 3 points. There were some network issues, but the first 2 points, lovely, wonderful. And I just wanted to, I love the narrative also about Ambani and Shiv Nadar, how you had presented that. And no dream, that was something so powerful. Like just putting out the small fire or looking at the small goals. That was very inspiring. Thank you for that. So my question is more to do on the culture ad and not culture fit. And I was just I understood, or I'm trying to understand, like we as an organization or a team or a community, we would have a culture, and we would prefer that somebody that joins us would also align something into that culture, right? And I'm just trying to understand culture ad from that point of view of thinking differently. Yes, I
Thank
understood
you.
that, but yeah. So that was, I hope my question was
Yeah,
clear.
yeah, yeah. Don't worry. I mean, always my recommendation is keep our questions small, so that we can dwell more on the answers. See, this is a advice that we give. I give it even internationally. What is the difference between culture ad and culture fit? Fit is we know what are our non-negotiables. Okay. For example, we will not give bribe. Let us be clear. Okay. Also, we will not entertain LGBT. I'm just giving you as a guideline. We will not have that as a policy, and so on. Okay, so this is our culture. Our culture also, we will have as far as possible a family culture. Okay, our culture is also we will go beyond the professional into the personal, and so on. Write that down. Okay, this is your culture. Okay, we want to recruit people who fit into the culture. That is culture fit. So what I mentioned is go for beyond culture fit. And what is that culture fit? That is the culture ad. You have, for example, the ability, or you want an aspirational statement in your company that you want to go for big wins. You want to go for what I would call a global customer. For whatever reason, you don't have that capability within. That culture is not there with you. All of you are mom and pop shows. All of you are homegrown people. So while they conform to the culture ad is this person will bring that global thinking while retaining the local mindset. And I practiced this all along, right from my time with the Tatas as an employee. I use this culture ad versus culture fit when I recruited team members. I'll give you one example. When I was in HL, I was recruiting graduate trainees, and I was at that point in time senior vice president. Senior vice president never gets involved in anybody below vice president, not even general manager. But I said, no, I want to get some fresh blood into the company. Long story short, this graduate trainee, one of them, she is just fresh, BSc chemistry, you know, and we had about half an hour of interview. In that half an hour, everything that I said, she negated, she argued, and the HR person all along was wanting to send her off. And she said, I'm sorry, Anand, you made an adventure. We should not recruit these people. They will not fit into our company, and so on. I said, no, I want this candidate in my team. And the reason why I want this candidate in my team is she thinks differently. She will add an element of diversity into our thinking and an element of different mindset in our team. I hope I've answered that. So make sure that you have culture add in addition to just culture. Culture fit is the non-negotiable. Okay. Then from there, you have the culture add. Thank you for that question. And that is applicable not just in entrepreneurship, it is there in your team also. Yes, other questions. Please keep the questions coming because we have limited time. And of course, afterward, if you do not ask questions, I'll give you my social media handles where you can continue to ask the question.
Anand Bhaiya, Philip here from Hyderabad.
Yes.
I just want to ask, you mentioned about market ambiguity. I just want to ask this question. How can, especially in uncertain times like this, the morale and productivity gets affected? And how can market participants maintain that morale and build up the team and get productivity when faced with uncertainties in the market?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very broad
Yeah.
question. The basic thing is, see, the COVID was really a period where everybody's resilience was tested and
Hmm.
uncertainty was tested. The key thing that you'll have to get in is what is the basic minimum that you will do, come what may. That was a time, for example, in fact, quite strangely, my biggest business
Hmm.
was during the COVID time. My most
Okay.
busy time was during the COVID time. You know, I mean, in fact, one person asked, what do you mean? I said, listen, I've traveled 5 countries since morning. I cannot even travel 5 cities. Forget 5 cities, 5 locations in the same city in the same day.
Hmm.
Bottom line is understand the value of ambiguity, VUCA, volatility,
Mm.
uncertainty, complexity, and
Uncertainty
ambiguity.
complex.
You make sure that you are cutting across these boundary lines. So,
Mm.
in my case, it so happened that during COVID time was my busiest time. The reason why I'm saying that is because the market dynamics can either be a multiplier or it can be a derailer.
Mm.
Hundreds, if not thousands, of companies shut down during COVID time. But
Correct.
at the same time, we are using one such platform, Zoom. Zoom kind of companies, boomed during the COVID time. So make
True.
sure that you look at the market uncertainty and see and look at it. Is this a problem or is it an opportunity? How can I
Mm.
convert this into an opportunity? I can get into the specifics based on the business model, but everything that you have, look at it as a opportunity rather than a problem. When I looked at this, I said, wow. I mean, never in my human experience in the physical world could I travel 5 cities, and that too, there's various parts of the world in the same day. So
Yes.
it offers us opportunity.
Mm.
Yeah, there is one person who has asked a question. Can you explain revenue-based financing in more detail? Okay. And I think there was another question that slipped away, but let me give you revenue-based financing. So what I did was, and in the year 2002, 2001, actually, when I came back from US to India, my company, HCL Technologies, they offered me a role to get into people development in addition to being the sales and marketing head. So at that point in time, I had to do a lot of certifications. I still remember 2002, the amount of expenditure that I incurred in just certification was 27,500 US dollars. Now that's a lot of money. And HCL, the system was, and that is there in the most companies, the system is only on completion and certification will you get the reimbursement. So I went ahead aggressively, and I was a very senior person, so I went ahead aggressively. Ultimately, I actually got none of the money on a completely different thing. And the reason was that had to be in line with the business that you are doing, and your manager has to approve it. So I went into psychometric certification. I went into, I don't know what all certification. None of it was in line with the business that I was doing, and I could not get any amount of that $27,500. But fortunately, I came to know my approvals after I incurred about nine or eight thousand, $9,300 in the certification, and had already signed up for a whole lot of other certifications where I had to pay the money. So I went and told them, listen, I am going to continue the course. I will pay. And all these things were in Singapore or in UK, and two of them are in US. I said, listen, I will pay for this by way of delivering programs for you. And all of them, they selected me in the cohort based on my profile. In fact, I was the most experienced person in the lot. They were very proud to have me in the lot. So for them, that $3,000 or $5,000 that I was paying for the course fee was nothing compared to 3 days of training that I could do free. So what I did was I offset the revenue for the thing. Now I was laughing all the way to the bank because immediately after you do your course, you will have to get into actual experience. Now that was a variation of revenue-based financing. After I started my business, there was one customer who wanted me to travel to 3 cities in India, and they wanted me to deliver these programs and so on. Okay. First of all, it was not possible for me to do that. They wanted 100 workshops in 3 months because in the corporate world, you have what is known as a quarter ending. Okay, this particular company wanted to finish the AMJ quarter, April, May, June, and they said before the JAS quarter, July, August, September, we want the productivity to kick in. So I said, it's just not possible. And I don't have team members who have this capability. So what I did was I asked them to fund my video development. I asked them to fund my entire courseware development in return for whatever thing. So I asked them to give me their team members. I worked with the instructional design team of that particular organization. I worked with the strategy implementation team of that organization. So basically, that funding came not in terms of actual cash, but in terms of people. And I was able to kickstart that particular program or that particular intervention, that strategy implementation. And that went boom. And I've been doing that quite often thing. Automotive companies I mentioned, when they want their suppliers, they always do that revenue-based funding. That was the question. I hope I've answered that question. Let me see. And then also,
There's one more question that is coming, Doctor.
yes,
Yeah.
Ratan from Uttarakhand. Can you explain the difference between one-man company and sole proprietorship? It is the same. One-man company is an unregistered company. Sole proprietorship is a registered company. You spoke two categories of investors, angel investors, and which is the other one? Venture capitalist. Okay, yes. Venture capitalist will come in after the company has come into some kind of a business model. Angel investor will basically fund a hope, fund a desire, fund a dream, and really take it forward. They don't need a clear-cut business plan. A venture capitalist will require a whole lot of other documents. Yes, other questions? Somebody asked, is there a network of angel investors? There is a network of angel investors that is there. One big thing in the corporate circles is an entity called TIE, T-I-E, which is largely Indo-American or whatever, the Indust entrepreneurs. I'm a resource person for them. There are a whole lot of network of angel investors that are there. Any question, any doubt that is there, you're not yet an entrepreneur or you're an entrepreneur stuck for a long period of time, you're not able to really scale up and making a big thing.
Anand, this is John. I'm from Bangalore.
Yes.
I actually haven't started anything yet, but it is in the planning. My question is kind of slightly, different in the sense that, the options or the business that I've been planning is always, related to, kind of Christendom, or that, the clients or the partners that I see is only the Christian organizations. So is my, thinking or the way that I look at it is right, or should I actually move ahead and then look beyond that? Is what is my question.
See, most people are in this thing. In fact, my observation is a large number of the so-called Christian entrepreneurs, our customers are Christians, our partners are Christians, and all that. Well, that's your choice. I don't want to comment on it. It's just that it's not my calling. I will do work free for Christian organizations, but for the secular world, it will be different. So within the Christian ecosystem, in fact, I came to Bangalore for one, I don't know what it was, marketplace ministries or something. I mean, just about everybody was wanting customers from the Christendom and so on, which is okay. It's a good place to start. But there are three challenges there. First thing is you will get into what I would call growth issues, because it's very, very unlikely that you'll grow exponentially, because of the kind of ecosystem. I mean, if you look at the total number of or total percentage of Christians in India, the market size is very small, 2.34 and so on, but that's one thing. The second thing is your service offerings will be limited to their needs only. You will not have a diverse portfolio thing. And push comes to shove in a kind of a tough market, which is what happened in US. A large number of the donors, they cut their funding during recession. So then what happens is they get into their discretionary spending will come down. But the third biggest thing is what I call the brother sister business. I mean, they'll not give you the money or whatever, and the brother, I'm going through this difficulty and so on. I've got a friend of mine who has made it a policy never to hire a Christian in his team. He's a very successful Christian entrepreneur, but his policy is, I don't want to have. I mean, if I'll hire a professional. If he happens to be a Christian, fine, but I'll hire a professional. So everybody has got their own rules of engagement, ROE. John, you go ahead and do what you have to do, but make sure that the real test, acid test, comes when the rubber meets the road. That's
Thank you,
what.
Anand. Thank you.
Yes.
There are two more questions which have come in the chat.
Let me look
Uma
at the chat.
Maheshwari, yeah, says, you mentioned getting your customers as advisors. Please, could you share some practical inputs?
Yeah, so we started this when I was in HCL itself. It is called Customer Advocacy Group, CAG. The Customer Advocacy Group is for each one of the verticals. We had customers on our board of advisors. That is for a company. Here, for leadership matters for me, for example, I am an independent director in a few companies. As an independent director in the few companies, I am advising them, but they are also my potential customers. But by virtue of the MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, I cannot do any business with them. So now I'm in a catch-22 situation. I'm offering my services to them, and I'm not in a position to get any revenue from them. So what I did was, I said, listen, I want your advice. And let me tell you, many of the companies, many of the customers are rich in pedigree, rich in experience. So they're offering me advice. And then that advice can change my business model. I'm doing something on boundaryless behavior. I mean, that advice can change. So customers are your best advisors. In fact, every manufacturing organization in US or every service organization in US has got something known as VOC, voice of the customer. Get the customer to speak to you. The customer should be part of your advisory team. That is one entire thing. Every company, major company, has an annual customer meet. Okay. You need not have an annual customer meet. Have people who will ping you. Whether you are an IBM or a three-man company, you need to have the advice of customers. And in my case, I took these companies that I was a director in, and I got them to advise me. And I'll tell you, if I were to pay for that advice through a McKinsey or a Boston Consulting Group or AT Kearney, it would be a few thousand dollars, a few $100,000 actually. So choose your customers, and customers, particularly the disgruntled customers, are your best advisors if you have the patience and the bandwidth to listen to them, because they will tell you why they are upset, and what really went wrong.
And so that's one more question which has come up from Roshan. How do you identify and validate a viable business opportunity in a competitive market?
See, my specialization, if you go into Google, is blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean strategy, if you want, you can get into it. Blue ocean strategy is how to go after uncontested markets and make the competition irrelevant. Sometime later, I can do an entire session on just blue ocean strategy. But coming back, no market is flooded. It's wrong. It's your view of the market. Okay, no market is flooded, no market is non-competitive. Everything will be competitive, and at the same time there is an opportunity. It is called white spaces. What is white spaces? White spaces are spaces where a particular business opportunity is not yet addressed. I'll give you two examples which started small and became a very, very big entity. Okay. Airbnb. Okay. When Airbnb came, was there a room for another travel agency or another thing? There was no room at all. But they found out that the bed and breakfast, B&B, there is an opportunity for you to get into that space. And in US, there are motels and there are, I don't know what all are there. Every price point, there is a service offering. But there is also an opportunity that is there. Take the case of Uber. Uber also, I mean, there were no dearth of the travel companies. And US was dominated by two big companies, Avis and Hertz. But there came an opportunity there. So your ability to see the white spaces is what makes you the winner. I'll give you one Indian example. People from Chennai and Bangalore will identify it. This is the Sarvana Bhavan Blue Ocean strategy. Okay. Many years ago, I don't know how many of you know, the Sarvana Bhavan is actually a blue ocean company. You may know the company, but it's a blue ocean company. So and in Chennai, much before Sarvana Bhavan came in, the restaurant market was flooded. You had street vendors, you had just about everybody. So what is the white space that they addressed? The white space that they addressed is their category. It's called the non-customer. There are a set of people who will never ever go to a restaurant. And I want to ask you, before Sarvana Bhavan, who are the set of people who will never go and eat in a public restaurant? That's an uncontested market space in an overall crowded market. Anybody can answer this question.
The traditional people?
Yeah, traditional. Go further. What is traditional?
Brahmins.
Thank you. Tamil Brahmins. Okay. The Tamil Brahmins will never ever go to a public restaurant. They want a kitchen clean. That's the first thing. So they said, I will cater to that category. The second thing is the menu card. Those days, waiters were evaluated based on how well they memorized the menu card. So if somebody comes and asks what is there, you'll have to say idli sambar. The fellow will have to go and reel it out. Okay. But there was a joke in a Tamil movie which gave the idea for the promoter to come out with visual menu card. It's a very old movie, Sarvar Sundaram. Okay. So I'll give you that incident and I'll tell you how we can look at opportunities out of a humorous incident. So there is a family, husband, wife, children, they go and they ask this Ganesh is, Nagesh is the actor. They ask him what is there and he reels out the entire thing. And the husband decides what he wants and the wife also decides what to want. The daughter, she is unable to decide based on the menu. And immediately so Papa, unke enna veno? He asks the child. You know what she says? There is a neighboring table, they are eating something. And she points that because for her, she's not able to visualize the menu item. She points that and she says, Yanike, adu veno. For those of you who don't know Tamil, basically she says, I want that. You know what Sundaram says? He says, Chi adi yeche unuku vera kondu varra. That gave an opportunity for him to come out with the visual menu card. So if you go to Sarvana Bhavan, you will find beautiful images of idli sambar, beautiful images of the whatever coffee. Three things he achieved at that. First thing is the quickness to decide when you see a food item visual is higher than when it is on a piece of paper. That's the first one. The second one is the tendency to order more. And I'm in that category. I don't know how many of you are in that category. My mother always used to scold me, you eat with your eyes. That is, you see what you want and you want to get tempted. Your appetite increases. The third one is the menu will always be bright and colorful as opposed to a printed menu. You cut down the printing cost and here is something. So in a restaurant market, in a crowded restaurant market, they went into creating that white space or addressing that white space. They didn't create the white space, and that became a big entity. I mean, in our US Sunnyvale office, we've got not very far from there, Sarvana Bhavan. In London, there is a Sarvana Bhavan. There are a few places in Singapore, there is Sarvana Bhavan. Simple. And if you look at it, there are not more than 9 main menu items. That is there. Crowded market. They are not offering anything great, but they addressed a white space. In my blue ocean strategy, a big consulting work is in that area, is to identify the white spaces in every market and address that in a way. You don't have to do any rocket science. If you go and look at their idli, it is as good as the idli that is there in some home, which can make it really very well. Very fluffy, but that idli is different. The sambar is the same, but the way it is offered is very different. For example, I got shocked. I mean, this was almost 20 years ago when I went along with my colleague, and she is thin. And so I asked, "What do you want?" She said, "I want to have 16 idlis." I said, "You're going to eat 16 idlis?" I mean, I kind of was shocked. I said, "No, I want to have only 2 idlis. In fact, not even 2 idlis, one idli and one vada." And so then 16 idlis actually came. That 16 idlis are button idlis. Uh, it is very small. It's all in a bowl. It's all in a bowl. And she decided based on looking at the menu, which was a photograph. So no blue ocean strategy basically teaches us no market is crowded. There'll always be white spaces, and our ability to identify those white spaces is where the entrepreneur instinct. Take my earlier company, Reliance Industries. Till date, they have not innovated any company, any product or service. Till date, all that they have done is go into an existing market and offer services differently or products differently. And I can talk about companies after companies, and that became, they crossed $100 billion 2023. They're India's largest private sector enterprise, but all their products and all their services are what somebody offered or somebody is offering. Yes, other questions? I don't know where we are doing at the time.
Thank you, sir. Would you want to introduce your social handles, or if you can
Yeah.
send it to me, I
So
can also
the best
post
way
that.
to ask Anand_Pillai is my Twitter handle, but the easiest is LinkedIn. Just follow me on LinkedIn and ask whatever question you want. I've devoted about 10 to 15 minutes every day for my questions on through LinkedIn. That's a
Yeah.
professional network. So please
Yeah,
ask.
I'll share your LinkedIn profile in the group, sir, so that
Yeah.
they can go through that.
Yeah, just go through that and ask me questions through
Sure.
that. I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
I
you.
know that it's a very limited time, but I think you have really brought in so much of information and your experience into this talk, and we are sure most of us are benefited through this, and we will continue to engage with you for further questions as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.